Hello and welcome back to Exeter and Laira. You're watching part 5 of the build series, and this episode is just a follow-on from the track laying video, which just features a complete separate loop, and I'm going to show you in this video how to tackle problems with polarity switching. So as all the track was laid on the main layout a few months ago, it still left me with the section that runs up to Exeter Central, and as that enters at the top end, it does a loop and comes back around on itself, which means that this whole section runs on its own separate circuit basically. So what I'm going to do is just kind of rewind the clock back over the last few weeks and show you how I've gone about installing this section. Okay, so what we're going to do is look into installing the line that runs up to Exeter Central, and this wasn't fitted during the rest of the track laying, as it runs on its own separate loop and enters up a 1 in 37 incline. Before it gets to the top, loops around before coming back down, to bring you into platforms 1 and 3 of the station. If you've just joined the channel right now and you haven't seen my track laying video, it may be good just to go back and check the methods and style of what I've done to lay all my track, as what I'm going to be doing here, my track laying style is going to be exactly the same, just everything else about all the wiring will be completely different underneath. So off of camera I'm going to mark where I need all my track and point work to be, and then continue on with laying the cork and getting the track down. Again, just making sure that careful planning, checking Google images, and a notable thing is that the actual track is wider at the lower part, and then it narrows back off just beyond where the point work's going to be, which is in this particular area here. Now there is a catch point as well located on this section here, which was obviously meant for if anything failed and rolled back down the hill, then it would get caught on the catch points, and I'm actually going to show you how I've made a set of catch points rather than buying them from the packet. Again, just keeping something a little bit different and unique. As I have a spare set of points, I thought it would make sense to actually just make a pair. Okay, so that's the cork bed down all the way up. I've only done it as 2 pieces here, as I already had this section all the way up laid from some time ago. Doesn't matter if I haven't got a ballast shoulder in between the 2 running lines, it's perfectly fine. But now I've got more track to respace the sleepers on, so time to get on with that. On the real location there is a set of catch points, and I have this right hand turnout as a spare point, which I'm going to chop down and modify into a set of catch points that look exactly the same ones as the ones on this section of the line. So with seeing the real ones, what I'm going to do is the outer rail on this side, I'm going to keep this as it is all the way along, and I'm going to trim the inner line here roughly to about there, and likewise with this one on there, trim that one back to there. And what I'll do with this one here, I'll keep this roughly where that is there. So with a bit of chopping and cutting, you can see now I've actually got myself a nice set of catch points. So this gives me the ability to be able to respace a few sleepers on here as well. So I've kept the rail on this side a little bit longer, and then I'll attach another piece. So there we go, that's the catch point complete and put into its exact location as per the prototype. I'm quite pleased how that turned out. Actually, I managed to respace virtually all of the sleepers on it, and makes a nice additional piece to the layout, again, rather from buying something that's from a packet and plonking it straight down. So if you're kind of serious into modelling and you have a TMD or various lines which are sidings that enter out onto a main line, the catch point is actually a vital piece of equipment, safety equipment on the railway, that you must sort of really add to it to add that scope of realism. This particular catch point itself proved very useful back in November 2011 when there was a engineering train heading up this particular incline, and it would be banked by a class 66, and for some unknown reason the whole of the train actually rolled back down the incline, and the class 66 that was banking had actually come off where these catch points actually are. There is a video on YouTube which shows the 66 being completely derailed. So a vital piece of equipment which obviously proved its functionality and worked quite well and prevented what could have been a serious accident. So there we go, that's now all the track down, all the way up. So finally, that's, as far as I'm aware now, that's all of the track, all the respacing of track done for now anyway, so hopefully there'll be no more. So what I'm going to do is show you how this all works. So my layout runs on a full bus wire all the way around, and each individual section of track is connected to the bus wire with dropper wires, and once you've made a decision where you want your dropper wires to be, so as an example, the line that's further away from me is my negative and the nearest one is my positive. Once you've got that, you must stick with that all the way round. So that's now all done on that section, and I also added an extension for the same bus wire that runs onto this section and it ends there, so the bus wire terminates here and it goes no further. So this set of point work all runs on the same bus as this particular bus wire here. It powers all this track. So looking down here, I'll put the pieces of wire there which show which line runs on which current, basically, which ones are positive, which ones are negative. Now if I was to feed a bus wire all the way around this, which was connected to my main bus wire, and ran it all the way up this loop and ran it all the way round, there'd be an issue when it comes down to this section here. As this line's my positive and that one's my negative, by the time you've run it all the way round, so the positive being closer to me, by the time it comes all the way round and down this side, the positive is then on the outside, which is the opposite polarity of the section that's connected up to my main bus wire. So the first thing I've done is made sure that the loop is completely isolated, and to do that, off the back end of these points, installing the plastic rail joiners, making this section now completely isolated from the rest of the layout. At this point, if you still had the bus wire connected all the way around, you wouldn't get the short circuit because, as I say, it's now insulated. but you'll still get the major problem when you run a train down there and it crosses over from this section onto that one there. So the question is, how do you get round preventing a short circuit when the train passes over the line furthest away? And on the market there are things called reverse loop modules. So fitted just underneath the layout is this module which enables me to be able to run the trains over the part of where the polarity mixes over. And it's a simple device which I'll go into detail in a second to show you how exactly it all works. Auto reversers or reverse loop modules are used on a DCC layout to automatically switch the polarity of the track feeds in layout features such as loops, Ys, and to provide feeds also to turntables. Whenever a train crosses over a section of the track where there is a polarity mismatch and a short will result, the auto reverser automatically switches the polarity to prevent a short circuit and so avoid subsequent shutdown of the layout. So basically a short circuit is detected in less than 5 microseconds and the polarity is corrected within 10 to 20 milliseconds is basically how the module itself works. So there are a number of modules on the market. This particular one I'm using is from gaugemaster and costs around about £40 to £45. There are cheaper ones that I've recently discovered, and I probably will start using some of the other ones on some of the other reverse loops down the other end of the layout. So in terms of how they operate is quite simple really. It's just a small module which just basically reverses the polarity in the rails. So to wire this up, what I've done is I've taken the main bus wire into a set of terminal blocks just there, and the bus wire is then connected into one side of the block, and then these set of dropper wires here are positioned there, which is on the actual insulated section of the loop, and those wires then feed into the terminal blocks as per the instructions that you get with whatever module that you buy. Now you can also as well not just depend on a set of droppers onto this, just a a section of track. You can actually run a separate bus wire all the way around the loop, but as long as that section, that's the bus wire section connects into the reverse loop module, it will separate the two sections basically. So, but I've done it on just the set of droppers, as all my track, all the joins, which obviously set of joins there and so many joins up that way, will all be soldered together, so this just makes this one whole section of continuous track. So to demonstrate how the module works, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this locomotive just over the insulated part onto the main part of the layout, and as it does that, you'll hear the module click as the polarity switches over. So that clicking noise is basically the module doing its job and instantly reversing the polarity on this section round the other way round, meaning that this train can just continue on. So what I'm going to do is just send Ajax round this particular loop and show you how exactly it all works. So as it stands at the moment, I think the polarity is switched in the opposite way as it goes over the points around about here. So it should click around about now. So now the polarity is matched. The locomotive can climb up the hill perfectly. And again, the polarity is reversed as it goes back over down there. So there we go. I think that pretty much concludes this episode, and feels like what's been an endless roller coaster ride trying to get all this track down, and quite pleased about how it's all turned out. There are a few little bits and pieces here and there still to go down, but generally the bulk of it's now done. So if you've got any questions or comments, please do drop them down in the comment section. And should be back relatively soon with another video. Not quite sure what's in the pipeline yet, or the next one that's due up, but I've got a few that I'm kind of working on. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you all again soon.